It's a terrible football show, all right?
I want whatever you guys are smoking right now.
Come on, Shane. OH. OH.
Oh, baby,
go.
yeah! Shane, I swear to God.
Welcome to a terrible football show.
That's my quarterback and my teammate, man.
Ruins my fucking holiday every damn year.
Alex,
What up?
you could thoroughly kiss my ass.
Why not let us decide the top four?
Yeah, let a terrible football show
Let a terrible
decide the top
football
four.
show.
Fuck you, Shane.
Roll Tide. Have a good one, guys.
Oh,
Have a good one.
yeah, he's got to go. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
You know, I like that Baker Mayfield to myself, man. He was baking up there in the Browns, and it just turned into a big old shit pile. So,
Get that right. I will fly you out and take you to a game in Dallas of your fucking choice.
Oh, shit. Yeah, he's successful at just giving his terrible opinions, so why can't I? It's a terrible football show after all. Welcome to a terrible football show, episode 72. We got all the boys back. All the boys are together. I got Ricky here in studio because it feels like, is it coming to an end of an era with your little cute little hotspot you got? You know,
there is a possibility, sir. Yes, they have hooked up just about everything ready to go. They just won't get back with me on when that's going to be. But yes, the hotspot box needs to just. I'm going to destroy that thing. I'm going to set it on fire.
we got to do it on the show.
I mean,
we
I'm
gotta
going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to set that thing on fire and let it spark. I don't care.
Yeah.
That thing's a piece of crap.
Hey, but man, it's done so much work for you. I will never forget the day when we told Jacob that was how he did all of the shows. But shout out to Jacob, the only one here wearing a jersey, because I was very stinky and I didn't want to wear mine. So shout out to that. And we also have Shane here. Boys, how we doing? How we feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
Excellent.
You know, we've had that intro video for quite some time now.
Yep,
and I just noticed Jacob tells me to fuck myself at least 3 times in that video. Let's see if we can get a mock up on that. Let's see if we can get a few more times in that video.
That's true. I was planning on making an edit on it soon because one thing I was wanting to, I didn't know if I was gonna leave in your little Baker Mayfield thing that you did, but I did want to add Jacob's Baker Mayfield thing. So I didn't know if I didn't know if I wanted to double dip on it where you did the Baker Mayfield thing and then later Jacob's just like fuck Baker Mayfield or Baker Mayfield can kiss my ass or whatever he said. I want to add that.
That should be. That definitely should be.
And then of course I still have the clip of the 4 overtimes.
Yeah, you should just plug that back in when Miami plays Virginia this year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Just make a special opening just for that. But no, all the boys are back together after a couple weeks, so happy to see that. Boys, we have football this weekend. Week 0 of college football. Not a lot of good matchups. There's only like one matchup that's really like worth a damn. That's Ohio and San Diego State. But I mean, it's the fact that football's back. Who gives a shit, right? You know, we got football back this weekend. We're not going to be doing any Week 0 predictions just because of the way Run Your Pool is set up. It just counts it all Week 1, and we want to make sure we get Week 1. So we're not putting anything for Week 0 in. So there is still a chance to join the Run Your Pool and compete against us. And there will be a prize, and I'm still going to give everyone their prizes. Just please bear with me, guys. It's been a shit show over here for me recently. But today's episode, of course, is Power 5. We did Group of 5 last week. Ricky's got some explaining to do on a couple things. I don't even remember which ones they were, honestly.
I'm sure Jacob wrote them down on his board.
I hope Jacob, I hope you wrote something down because I don't remember which ones they were that we were going to question. I really don't.
I do remember Florida Atlantic, Florida International were 2 of them. And then, of course, I'll mention the screw up on Nevada. I mean, I have no idea how that happened because I'm looking at Nevada's schedule. I'm like, I didn't pick them to beat them. There's no way I picked them to win. And so, no, but I can definitely defend Florida Atlantic and a little bit of Florida International. I just don't know Florida Nationals. It said 8-4, but I did not have them going 8-4. I think I had them going 5-7 instead.
No. Well, today's going to be a big day. You know, I know Ricky's been hyping it up for a couple weeks, and he had some predictions that were going to piss Jacob off specifically. And I think Jacob's got some spiciness. I think I've got a couple of spicy ones. Shane, you got some spice going on over there? Are we
honestly, dude, honestly, I'll just kind of be winging it this episode. I've been so busy with shit that I've not had time to break anything down. So
So we're not
but
going to
I
be
will
the Spice
say-
Boys.
what?
We're not going to be the Spice Boys.
Unfortunately not.
Damn.
But I will say I'm not looking forward to the backlash that I'm going to receive as an Arkansas fan because of Ricky's comments a couple of weeks ago when Jacob said that he had some shit for us come
Yep.
Power 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I'm just okay. Listen, let's just be honest. If I reflect on college sports, period, for this season, let's go back to basketball. That was one of the weirdest basketball seasons, one of the weirdest NCAA tournaments I've ever seen in my entire life.
True.
And I think this year's college football is going to be the exact same. How many teams do you think are returning a starting quarterback this year? Not many. Not many at all.
Do you think this year for college football is going to be like, what was it? God, was it
If
like
I-
2007 or
If I
something?
tell you,
2007, the curse of number 2.
so
Yeah.
I will say this much. When we get to our top 4, some of you guys are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" But yes, I'm serious. I mean, my top 4 is juicy. I mean, it is juicy, especially my top 3. My fourth one, I'm not so sure of yet, but
Okay.
but
okay.
we'll definitely get there.
All right. Well, do we just want to go ahead and jump into things, or we want to address anything before in the room first?
Should I go ahead and defend a couple of these things that happened last?
Let's defend it.
Okay,
Let's defend
okay.
it. We're going to touch on some group
I'm
of
gonna
5 here.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Florida Atlantic because I believe Florida Atlantic could possibly be, hear me out, one of the sleepers.
Look, I have no beef with Florida Atlantic.
They're going to be one of the sleepers in the American Conference this year. I'm gonna go over their schedule.
Is Perry still the QB, or did he finally leave? I think he finally left, didn't he?
I think he finally left. But
Shout out to Perry. I liked him at Miami.
But if you look at their returning production that they had from a year ago, Florida Atlantic ranks number 3 in the nation when it comes to returning production. And the way I will defend this is if I look at their schedule from last year, they really only had 2 really crappy games that were both on the road. And one of them, I believe, was Middle Tennessee. And let me see who the other one was at the top of my head. Here, let's just go. Let's just do this. Let's see here. It was at home against UCF, which obviously UCF was the best team in that conference. And,
Yep.
of course, they were also, I believe, in Conference USA last year. They were not in the American Conference last year. So, and, of course, UCF's also moved on.
Yep.
They barely lost at Purdue, which I thought Purdue very well underachieved last year. At North Texas, that was one of their bad games last year. They did lose 45-28. It was at North Texas. But I also have high expectations for North Texas this season, so I don't really consider that terrible. The worst loss of the year for them last year was at UTEP when they lost by a field goal to UTEP. That was their worst loss, in my opinion. And of course, Middle Tennessee was pretty good last year. They also went into overtime against Western Kentucky last year. I have Western Kentucky. I have them pretty well beefed up for this coming season. So now I'm going to go over Florida Atlantic's schedule real quick. They're at home against Monmouth. That's going to be a win. Then they're at home against Ohio. I think Ohio, and I think I agree with Jacob, and I think Alex, I think you pointed on this last year how good the MAC is actually going to be this year. I think the MAC is going to be
a lot of fun. That's going to be some fun football.
What year was it the Sun Belt had like 4 or 5 teams that went to bowl games? I think you could honestly see the top of the MAC be that good this year.
I agree.
Even though I think Florida Atlantic's good enough to beat Ohio, I don't think they're going to. They're going to lose to Clemson. They're going to lose to Illinois. But I wouldn't sleep on that game either because I think Illinois is also a middle-of-the-road team as well. I don't think they're that good. But this is the
They
rest.
lost a lot of talent.
Exactly. But here is the rest of their schedule. Tulsa, South Florida. They're going to lose to Texas San Antonio, and they're going to lose to Tulane. This is the rest of the schedule. Charlotte, garbage. UAB, still rebuilding. Even though they've kind of been right there on the top of the conference, they're actually rebuilding from that chunk of whenever they did come back. East Carolina is the only sneaky game I could see because East Carolina, as y'all will very well know, East Carolina is they're just a sneaky team. Obviously, they're going to lose to Tulane, and then they're going to beat Rice on the road. That's 7-5. I think that's fair. And yes, I do have Memphis going 8-4. I think Memphis is going to be a little bit under the radar, kind of like how they were a couple years ago when they were fighting that top 25 spot. I don't think they're going to be as good as that team, but I think they're going to be pretty good. What was the other? Of course, Nevada was another one. Which that, like I said, there's no way. There were some of them. There was no way I picked Nevada to be that good. Now, one thing I will say with Florida International. Florida International is also in the top 20 when it comes to production, when it comes to their production returning. The only thing with Florida International, though, that really kind of helps them in some sort of way is if you look at the last 3 or 4 years in their recruiting class, they've actually been at the top. They've been right there at the top of Conference USA. As a matter of fact, right now, if I looked at it correctly, I think in 2023, right now, I think in Florida, this year's incoming class was number 2 in Conference USA. So they do have a bright future to build on. I don't think, of course, I don't know how. There were some teams I'm like, there's no way I predicted. Like, it was so bad. And this is why Jacob, this is why Alex kind of, pointed out the internet issues and everything like that. I picked Florida International to beat Arkansas. There's no way I picked Florida National to beat Arkansas. But when I did go over, I did redo their schedule. And I do have them going 5-7. I'm not near as high on Liberty as you guys are. I'm really not. I'm not that high on Liberty this year.
Are you just salty because of last year?
So no, I'm just not as high on them. No. Listen, I don't hold any grudges, guys. That's the thing with me. I predict by what I see, and what I see is I'm not as high on Liberty as you guys are. And so, but anyway, so that's kind of where we're going. Now, what was I think there was one more. I think it was Toledo. So Toledo,
yeah, you were low on Toledo. Me and Jacob were like, I'm really high on Toledo.
Y'all were very high on Toledo.
Yeah.
Let me go over Toledo real quick and then we can get started. Whatever. I do have Toledo going 8-4. All right, so I do have them going 8-4. Let me look at this real quick. See, it switched on me again. I hate this thing. All right, so. Toledo. I did have Illinois beating Toledo, but I could easily see Toledo get that dub because like I said, I don't think Illinois is. I think they're more of a middle of the pack team, if not a little bit worse. That they're going to be a little bit worse this year. I do have them beating Texas Southern, San Jose State, and Western Michigan. I do have them losing to Northern Illinois. Of course, I think I have Northern Illinois winning the conference. Yeah, I've got them going 11-1, 8-0 in conference. I have them beating UMass, Ball State. I have them losing at Miami of Ohio. I think Miami of Ohio is going to be a little bit better this year than what people think they're going to be.
No, I think they're legit contenders to win the MAC.
And then let's see here. I do have them beating Buffalo, and I do have them beating Eastern Michigan, although that's also because it's toward the end of the season, and Eastern Michigan will be on the road. They'll be tired, banged up, and everything like that. I have them beating Central Michigan at the end of the year, but I do have this one that I've kind of circled a little bit, and I think it's just because Bowling Green is kind of like how ECU is in their conference. I believe Bowling Green is going to sneak up on a few, and that could be a trap game for Toledo because they do play their last 2 games on the road.
Okay.
I very much appreciate you allowing Northern Illinois to win the MAC, though.
Oh no, there was no doubt in my mind. When I looked at this schedule, I'm like, yep, Northern Illinois is going to win it, and nobody's going to come close.
Okay. Addressing a lot of stuff in the room there. I like it. I've also been trying to get my prediction things correct on here. While I have my notes over here, yes, I still wanted to also have it pulled up in front of me on separate tabs. We do have Chad here in the chat as well, talking about Georgia, as always. Which, I mean, that is going to be the talking points of this episode, hence it being the title of the episode. Can anyone compete with Georgia? That's going to be one of the big questions that we're going to figure out if we have an answer for today. So let's go ahead and jump into it, boys, shall we? We'll just go down the line. We'll go down here in a nice little alphabetical order here. So we'll start off with ACC. Home of my favorite team, Miami.
Florida State.
Fuck off. No, so when it comes to the ACC and like being like legitimately like the competitive teams, like obviously the way that we do our predictions is that we always highlight, our first and second favorite teams, even if they're not going to be competitive. So for me, when it comes to legitimate like competitiveness to the ACC, it's down to 3 teams. It's Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina. I think Miami is going to show a lot of progress this year. but I don't think they're going to be the team to beat in the Coastal Division. I think that's going to be North Carolina, but even North Carolina, I don't think is going to be, I think North Carolina's going to be good, but they're not going to be on the same level as Florida State and Clemson. So for me, unfortunately, fuck Florida State. I do have them going 12-0. But I do have the two potential losses of week 1 right off the bat with LSU and week 4 at Clemson. So that's gonna be their potential hot spots. But as of now, I think this team can really go on a run. If they get past basically the first 4 weeks, they get past that, Florida State's smooth sailing. Like up front, they are. Clemson, I have them coming in second in the Atlantic with a 10-2. Their 2 losses with Florida State and week 13 against South Carolina. I think the Gamecocks are going to pull off some magic, but I fully acknowledge that could not happen, and they could be 11-1 right there. For the Coastal Division, I do have North Carolina going a 9-3, winning the Coastal there, and their losses again. We're going to touch back on this when we get down to the SEC. Week 1 against South Carolina. I'm high on South Carolina this year.
I thought they weren't doing divisions this year.
For
they're
SEC.
not.
Yeah,
they got rid of the Atlantic.
I thought that
divisions.
It was still listed for me when I looked it up online.
Okay,
Either
okay.
way, if they're getting rid of it, it'd be Florida State and Clemson. If they're getting rid of it, when I looked it up earlier, there I thought I saw divisions for ACC. But yeah, North Carolina with losses that I've got lined up. South Carolina week 1, and then back-to-back losses, similar to how last year went, where they lost like 4 games in a row. They lost like the 2 regular season games, championship game, and then they lost the bowl game as well. I have them losing against Clemson in 12 and NC State in week 13. I understand NC State. They lost Leary. I get that, but they are getting Brennan Armstrong, who did a lot of noise over in Virginia. Virginia's going to be awful this year. They're going to be lucky to get 1 or 2 wins. But also coming over with Armstrong is the same sort of offensive coordinators that he knew at Virginia. I don't think NC State's going to take a huge step back just because they lost Devin Leary. I really don't. I don't think they're going to be like competitive team for the entire ACC. But I do think they're good enough to beat like the likes of a North Carolina in week 13. And then for my personal team, Miami, I've got them going 8-4. I could see anywhere from like a 7-5, 8-4, maybe a 9-3, but I don't see much better than that personally. Some losses I have lined up. I do think that we are going to lose week 2 versus Texas A&M, and then week 7 North Carolina, week 8 Clemson, and unfortunately week 11 against Florida State. So the way that I have got my championship game lining out would be Clemson and Florida State, and I think Florida State's going to take it. I got Florida State winning the ACC. That's how I've got things playing out for me.
All right, I'll go next. I agree with you on Florida State. I do have 1 loss, and I have them losing to LSU in week 1.
That's fair.
But there's
Totally fair.
but like I said, my top 4 is going to be very, very weird, y'all. Just telling you right off the top. My top 4 is weird. Clemson, I've got them losing the same games that you said I have them losing to. I have them losing to Florida State as well as South Carolina at the end of the year. I have Duke going 9-3. For some reason, to me, this schedule heavily favors the Blue Devils this year. It really does, because even though they have to go on Louisville on the road, Louisville's horrible. But they have Wake Forest at home. I do have them beating North Carolina on the road. I could see North Carolina getting that dub. But like I said, I think Duke is going to surprise a lot of teams this year. And then, of course, Virginia, like you said, they're horrible. And Pittsburgh is, they're not going to be as good this year. But I even though I do have Pittsburgh making a bowl game. So I have North Carolina coming in 4th at 9-3. I do have Miami coming in at 8-4 as well. I have Wake Forest coming in at 7-5. And then I have Virginia Tech, Pitt, Syracuse all coming in at 6-6. I've got North Carolina State coming in at 5-7. The one thing, though, is that I wish I would have redone before I did was look at Boston College again, because I think Boston College could be a huge sleeper in the ACC.
10-2, baby. 10-2.
I don't see them going 10-2. But
10-2, baby.
I probably need to relook at that. But Georgia Tech's going to be terrible. Virginia's going to be terrible, and so is Louisville. And it doesn't matter what record they are.
10-2.
All right, I'll go next. So I do have Florida State winning this, but I have them with 2 losses.
Okay.
They're undefeated in the conference though, but I do have them losing week 1 against LSU, and I actually have them losing a trap game. I have them losing at the very end of the year against Florida.
Oh, dear God, you did not go there. Yeah, I gotta call this out. I gotta call it out. How?
Listen.
How?
Florida State, especially in recent years, Florida State is very notorious for dropping the ball when it matters the most.
That's not wrong.
Yes,
And
but
in order for
Florida.
them to stay in the top 4 and go to a college football playoff, it would come down to that last game because they would already have one loss.
Very true.
And I don't see them losing any other game besides that one.
Okay.
When it matters most, they drop the ball, and that's going to be against Florida, week 13.
Oh my gosh! I don't think I have Florida making a bowl game. Let alone.
I don't either. I, honest to God, don't either.
It would just be that end of year thing.
It would be. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
I have Florida
State
winning
I'm here
4
for it.
games
Florida,
the entire
I do
year.
too. Florida State's going to be that number 2 team in the nation when they play Florida, and then they're going to get beat. Kind of like how who was those number 2? Missouri. What year was that? It was years ago.
2007.
2007.
Yeah,
Missouri was number 2. Then they got beat by some crappy team.
It was the curse of the twos, man. Because West Virginia got that high, they lost to Pitt. You know, that was Pat McAfee's 3 missed field goals.
Oh gosh.
USF got freaking number 2 in the nation just because of so many teams lost. Like 2007 was a wild year for college football.
I think this year's going to be even more wild. But anyway, okay, Jacob, continue.
I have Clemson coming in at number 2, also 10-2, but with the one in-conference loss coming against Florida State. But I also have them losing week 10 against Notre Dame.
Okay.
Ricky, similarly, I have Duke coming in at 9-3. I have them losing week 1 against Clemson. I have them losing week 8 against Florida State and week 5 against Notre Dame.
No respect for the Huskies.
North Carolina comes in at 4th at 10-2. They lose to Duke and Clemson back-to-back week 11 and week 12. Miami, I have them at 8-4. 5-3 in conference though.
So that's me
I have them
too.
losing against Texas A&M, North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State.
Chad also throws out in chat that Duke's going to beat Clemson week 1. He's got Clemson going 9-3. I think 9-3 is 100% possible for Clemson. There's just that weird gut feeling for me. Just as much as I look at Clemson and I want it, because I toyed very hard with Notre Dame beating them week 10 and their 3 losses being Florida State, Notre Dame, and South Carolina. But there's just that weird sinking gut feeling in me that Cade kid is going to be an absolute beast this year. So that's why I'm giving them a little bit of benefit of the doubt on that. But I could see 9-3.
The only question mark I have for Clemson is their offensive line, because their
That's
offensive
true.
line is
their defense is
pretty
going to
new,
be good, though. Their defense is going to be solid.
as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, for the Duke one, no respect for the Huskies. What are we doing? No respect
Making
for the
the right
Huskies.
predictions.
UConn's going to go on a tear this year. I made sure to throw in their predictions in here for me.
I can see that. I don't see them winning 8 or 9 games though, Alex.
I think I have them going 9-3. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh gosh.
Let's go Huskies.
That is absurd.
Let's go Huskies. They've moved up from a terrible game of the week consistent contestant to I think they're going to actually be really good this year. All right,
So they
Shane.
went from a bottom 25 team to
9-3, baby.
8-3,
Bowl game.
9-3.
Let's get it. All right.
Yeah, it is on the board. The first 2 predictions of the year, boys. Alex has UConn to a bowl game, and I have Troy to a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
I wanted to call that out before we got started, by the way. South Alabama, I could see doing a New Year's Six bowl. Troy, though, that's tough. Troy, that's real tough. Troy is not, I mean, as good as I think they could be. Troy is like one of those teams that it doesn't matter how good they look on the field or how good they look on paper. They always seem to fall short.
That's true.
I have South Alabama losing 3 games this year. That's why they don't make a bowl game or a New Year's Six bowl game.
Okay.
I agree.
That's
Texas
fair.
Tech is a sleeper in the Big 12. That's one that I've got highlighted once we get to the Big 12. I like Texas Tech a lot this year. They've got to have a lot of things go right for them, but I'm a big fan of Tech. I liked them last year. I like them even more this year. The one concern Tech's going to have that they got to overcome is they got to overcome losing a complete star on the defensive side of the ball with Tyree Wilson. Someone's going to have to step up, but they got a lot of defensive starters back. I think Texas Tech could be a really good team for the Big 12. Shane, who you got winning the ACC? I know you said you were winging it. What do we got going on? What's your winging it here? You got any spiciness for me?
I wanted to know what this hype about Florida State was. I know last year They finished 10-3 overall with a 5-3 ACC record. But let's be honest, we all know that even though with the good record they had last year, they did not look like a 10-3 team.
Because Florida
In my
State is
opinion.
returning 87% of its starters from last year.
Yeah, that was my logic
So-
behind it too.
They-
It's just
they-
a lot
they
more
are-
experience.
But this is what I'll say. With knowing that, and with how the ACC is, let's be honest, it's what a 4-team race, maybe. That's being lenient to
That's-
Duke
yeah.
and Miami.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
That's being generous. Yeah.
So I mean, let's be real here. It's kind of hard not to put them in there, especially with the decline that we saw from Clemson last year. Now, given I think they could have some, no, I say decline. Clemson definitely picked it up after the 3 losses because of DJ Ugalele or whatever his fucking name is, but he's no longer there. I don't even know where he's at now.
Oregon State, go Bees.
Oregon State. So for me, I think until it's proven differently, right now as far as ACC is Clemson.
I mean, and that's fair. I think Clemson is a
But
fair team to throw out there.
but I do think it will be Clemson and Florida State, because right now, I mean, the ACC has been like this for, I mean, as long as I've been on the show. It's a 2-team race. There's one year it was what, North Carolina there,
Last year.
but I'm pretty sure they got beat. Right?
Yeah, they got
so,
the shit beat out of them. Because like I said, North
Yeah, they got
Carolina lost their
absolute
2
piss
last
slammed.
regular season games. Then they lost the championship. Then they lost their bowl game. They lost 4 straight to end the year.
So I mean, and I'm gonna be real. I'm siding with Jacob on this. I will not be surprised if Florida beats Florida State at the end of the year.
Especially since it's at the Swamp.
I will not.
Yeah.
There's
am
been-
marking
now
that on the
given-
board for myself.
Now, given the only thing I've heard from Florida's kind of side of things is all from SEC media, and you know how SEC media is towards any SEC team.
Yeah.
Even
yeah.
if they're really bad, they still kind of overhype them,
True.
regardless of the situation. But I do think Florida will take a step up this year, and that's coming. That has to be a big thing, especially since they just had a quarterback that played 1 year and then is top 3 pick or whatever. So
hmm
I think they will take a step up. I will not be surprised if they beat Florida State at the end of the year. And honestly, LSU, I could see LSU beating Florida State week 1. Florida State Clemson, like I said, that could be an easily rematch at the end of the year in the championship game. I could see Duke giving Florida State a run for their money on October 21st. Hell, I could see Miami giving them a run for their money. But right now, like I said, it's top 4 for me would be Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and either Duke or North Carolina. Depends on who wants to actually play football. So
Yeah, I feel you. And I definitely, let me stress this, I definitely think Miami can give some of these teams a run for their money. Like the 4 losses I've got lined up, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Clemson, and at Florida State. I think Miami can give them a run for their money in all 4 games. Like, if we end up beating Florida State, if we end up beating any of those 4 teams, it won't necessarily shock me. I'm just banking on we're going to probably lose those games. Personally, that's just kind of my personal assumption. But the most important game that we're going to win this year is we're going to win the Battle of Miami. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But yeah, it sounds like for the most part, we're all pretty much on the same page for the ACC. Now let's go over to Jacob's country. Let's go to the Big Ten.
Did we do conference championship though? for
Oh
ACC?
yeah. Like I said, I've got Florida State winning it. Florida State.
I
Yeah,
think
Florida
all-
State winning it all.
Florida
think all
State winning the
three of us
conference.
have-
Yeah.
I think all 3 of us or all 4 of us have Clemson and Florida State,
Yeah.
and then I think y'all 3 have Florida State winning it, and I have Clemson winning it.
That's fair.
Got you.
All right, boys, let's go to Jacob's country. Let's go to the good old Big Ten. All right, Jacob, I'll let you kind of kick this one off for me, my friend. This is your world after all.
Okay, so follow with me because this might get a little confusing here.
I got you.
I'll start out with the West
All
because the West is less confusing.
Very straightforward.
There's only
Because the
two
West
teams.
sucks.
There's only two teams
Yeah,
in the
there
West
is. Wisconsin
that is
and
going
Iowa.
to potentially win this. It's Wisconsin and Iowa.
Yep.
I have Wisconsin winning it
Okay.
at 11-1, with their
Ooh.
only loss coming to Ohio State in Week 9.
Now, see,
I really love Luke.
That's fair.
That's fair because I have them going 10-2, but I have a surprise loss for the second one.
I love Luke Fickell, and Wisconsin already has plenty of talent there for
True.
a transition to be kind of easy for him.
Facts.
Iowa comes in a close second. I have them losing 2 games to Penn State Week 4 and Wisconsin Week 7.
Same.
But that defense for Iowa is going to be phenomenal, and they finally have a quarterback that can actually pass the ball.
Facts.
Hopefully.
Facts.
Everybody else, in the West, you have Illinois, Minnesota, Purdue. They're kind of run of the mill. And the Northwest and Nebraska, we won't talk about them.
Especially Northwestern.
Yeah,
Especially
I actually have
Northwestern.
I actually have Nebraska finishing last in the division.
That surprises me, really. It really does. Not
I
gonna lie
would
to you.
too, as well.
The only reason why I do have both of them going 2-10, 1-8 in conference, but I have Northwestern winning 1 game in division. I have Nebraska not winning at all in division.
Interesting.
I have Northwestern beating Nebraska. That's why they're above.
Interesting.
Wasn't that Northwestern's only win last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Week 1, I think.
Yep.
Was that in Ireland?
Yeah, actually
Okay.
it was.
Okay. Just make sure I remembered that right. So
How
stupid.
far Northwestern has fallen since being in the Big Ten Conference Championship
I
game.
know. I know. All right. So what? All right. So what's the wacky tobackiness you've got going on with the East?
So, obviously, it's the big 3 teams. There's Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. It's between those 3 teams. I have all of them at 11-1,
Interesting.
Wow.
8-1 in conference, 5-1 in division. Now, here's where this breaks down.
And all
I have
losing to
Penn
each other like
State.
2012
I
SEC
have
West.
I have Penn State losing to Ohio State.
Okay.
I have Michigan losing to Penn State, and I have Ohio State losing to Michigan.
That's fair.
Okay. That's all very
But
valid.
The way that all works out, Ohio State wins the East.
Okay.
And it's Ohio
it-
State versus Wisconsin for the Big Ten championship. and
Literally
Ohio
breaks
State
down the same way 2012 West Division did with Arkansas, Alabama, and LSU.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually.
Basically does. Yep.
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 Okay. So who was Penn State's loss again?
Penn
Ohio
State's
State.
loss was Ohio State
Okay. And what was Michigan's?
Penn
to
State.
Penn State.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
And then Ohio State losing the big game 3rd year in a row, which I really had to swallow.
At
my
least
pride
you're
on,
getting
but
prepared
I had,
for it
I had to
early.
face the facts.
Okay,
I
hang
had
on,
to face
though.
the facts.
He's getting
Hang
prepared
on.
for
Hang
it.
on. I'm calling you out on this. You gave me the weirdest look known to man when I told you that was going to happen weeks ago.
He had to come to terms.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Because I told you
You know,
weeks
look,
ago, mark
this
it
man- this
down.
man-
I really
This
had
man-
to come to terms with this when
Look,
I was writing the
Listen,
Big Ten
I've come to
article that I
terms that
was.
He had to-
Arkansas
he
is
had
going
to
to be
sit-
mediocre for years, okay?
Ricky,
and we're probably
Ricky,
going to
this
be
is
worse
what-
than mediocre before too long, but I'm just saying. Okay, just making sure.
Ricky, this is what happened, dude. He had to sit down with Jesus. Had his hair cut, his beard cut. And he was like, you know what? I just got to swallow this.
Yeah. Coming to
You
God.
know,
moment.
I just got to take the
I
L. You know,
Yep.
new look, new me. It's
New,
just- it's
new
just gonna
look,
happen,
new
man.
me.
No, honestly though, it was when I was writing the Big Ten article and I was crunching all the numbers and everything, and it just every scenario led to Michigan winning a 3rd year in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Also, shout out to all of his articles. He's put in an incredible amount of work. You can go sign up to our website, sparky3.com, for free and check all these out. Me and Jacob's also got another one that we need to finish. That's going to be just a little quick read, a ceiling and floor for every college team. Just very quick. No, it won't have paragraphs or anything. Just boom, records, move on with your day. It'll be great. I wasn't calling you. You're fine. My dog's in the room with us. My snap got her attention. But yeah, make sure to go check out our website, sparky3.com, and you can see all of his power rankings that he's got. Okay. All right, Jacob. I like
Let's hear
what
the
you
bad
got.
news.
I like what you got going on, man.
Let's hear what.
Let's hear the bad news.
Okay.
Is Ricky? Are you
Is
the
it
bad
my
news?
turn? Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
The bad news.
All
you
right.
got the bad news.
Also, I'll switch to this cam so we can see my cute little dog. So just keep going. She's a little out of frame. Let me fix that. All right, go ahead, Ricky. Let's hear the bad news.
Okay. I agree that Wisconsin is going to win the division in the West. I have them having a second loss that's going to surprise you. I have them losing at Illinois.
Not what I have.
I have them losing at Illinois. I'm sorry. I have 3 conference losses. I'm sorry. I have them losing at Illinois. I have them losing at home against Ohio State, and I have them losing at home to Michigan. Those are the 3 losses that I also have Iowa going 9-3, but I think Wisconsin's going to win it outright because they'll win the tiebreaker there because of the division. Minnesota, I've got Minnesota going 7-5. I've got 3 teams going 6-6. One of these teams, I don't know if they're going to actually get to that 6th win, and that's probably going to be Nebraska. But I think Nebraska's schedule, in my opinion, heavily favors them. Their non-conference heavily favors them to go 6-6. I only had them winning 2 conference games. In the East, Jacob, brace yourself.
Here we go.
Ohio State
Here we go.
could have 3 losses this year. And I want you to brace yourself, my friend, because I don't think Ohio State is going to be the dominant Ohio State team that we've seen over the years this year. I don't see it. They're basically replacing everyone on their offense this year. And like I've said in the past, and I'll even say it again today, experience means everything. And they're replacing a majority of their offense this year, including their offensive line. And I know that a lot of these guys have gotten plenty of reps over the years and things like that. I just don't know. I don't see them. I just think they're going to lose games they're not supposed to lose. But I also think they're going to win games they shouldn't win because of some of their losses. But with that being said, I have them losing at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's experience is going to outdo Ohio State's experience when it comes to week 4. And you can laugh all you want to, guys. Don't sleep on Notre Dame this year, all right? I'm gonna tell you right now, Connecticut. Yeah, you're the one that has Connecticut winning 9 games.
Hold the phone.
You have Connecticut winning 9 games, sir.
Hold the phone. Let me get this out. Hey, Jacob.
Yes.
I also have Ohio State losing to Notre Dame.
I also
Why?
now listen.
We destroyed
Hang on.
them last year.
You
Hang
didn't
on,
destroy
hang on,
them
hang
last
on,
year.
hang on. Jacob, it's a new year. I'm telling you, man, this may not, and I could be wrong. This may not be the dominant Ohio State program we've seen over the last years. I understand they've got a good recruiting class, but you have to get experience with these guys, and that's what they're going to be focusing on this year. Now, I will say this much. It's a good thing that their schedule, for the most part, is pretty weak this year, with the exception of Notre Dame, Penn State, and Michigan.
Yeah.
I went on ahead
And Wisconsin, because it is at Wisconsin.
I forgot about Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, Jacob. I don't know if they're going to lose to Penn State, but I did mark Penn State as a loss. But I have this feeling. You remember that year that Urban Meyer lost to Purdue and we didn't see it coming? I think there's
of course.
I think there's someone on this schedule that's going to beat Ohio State and we're not going to see it coming. And that's just me.
I know who it is.
That's just me. Like, I have no ill will toward Ohio State, toward you, nor Ohio State. I have no ill will towards anybody. I just call it the way I see it. I think they're going to be too young on the offensive side of the ball this year to be able to put up the numbers that they've been able to put up in the past. Now, if you bring that offense back from last year, we're talking possible national champions. But they're not doing that. It's a whole new game this year for Ohio State, and it's going to be a little bit different. And to be honest with you, I think they should have fired Ron Day last year. They're probably going to fire him this year for losing to Michigan 3 years in a row. So you may have a new coach next year.
I think there's 2 potential teams that we could lose to this year that we're not supposed to lose to, as far as Big Ten teams go, and that's either Maryland
That's one
or
of them.
Minnesota.
I agree with both of those, and those are the ones that I wanted a question mark. But at the same time, with the respect for the program, as dominant as they've been, with the respect to the program, I didn't put them as a loss. I put them were losses where I'm like, okay, this could definitely happen. And then there's some that possibly could happen. But I'm just saying.
I do have one thing, though.
All right.
We are not resetting as much as you think we are. Yes, we have a new quarterback, but this quarterback has been sitting behind multiple people for the past 3 years. He's going to be ready to go in Kyle McCord. Obviously, we have the wide receiver talent. We always have the wide receiver talent because Ohio State is wide receiver U. Our defense is our defense. It's always going to be lights out. Well, past couple years it hasn't been, but that's besides the point.
I'm just saying. You just made my point. But anyway, all right, so let me go ahead and finish up real quick, and then we'll get to whoever's next. I do have Michigan win the East. I have them going undefeated. Penn State, I'm going to circle that 11-1. Most likely it's going to be 10-2, but right now I've got 11-1. Obviously Ohio State 3. I've got Michigan State. This one's going to be tough. I have them going 7-5 as well as Maryland. Indiana and Rutgers, with respect, 4-8 for Indiana, 2-10 for Rutgers.
Are one of those 2 wins Ohio State? Because I have Rutgers beating Ohio State.
What?
No, I'm fucking with you. I'm fucking with you.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm fucking with you.
No. The two wins for Rutgers is going to be Northwestern in week 1, and they're going to beat Wagner in week 5.
Imagine if Ohio State loses to Rutgers week 10 in New Jersey.
If they lose,
my
now look,
God.
they're not going to lose to
Rutgers
Indiana.
Beats Ohio State. If Rutgers beats Ohio State, Rutgers automatically gets to stay in the Big Ten.
That's true. Because they're gonna on their way to potentially get kicked out. No, I was fucking with you. There's no way Rutgers gonna win. I was just trying to get something out of you. No, for me personally. So Ricky, did you get through your?
Yeah, I got through mine. Yeah.
For me, I have Michigan coming out on top on the East with a 12-0. Obviously, there's a couple games in there that could be some little hot spots that they could lose. They could lose at Penn State. Since it is at Penn State, that's why I acknowledge that could be an L. And then I think Ohio State and Michigan, I think honest to God, with how it's been these last few years, I think is always going to be a close game where it's very tough to see who's going to win. So that could be a loss, but I do have them winning the game. Ohio State, I do have going 10-2. Of course, I already said my 2 losses being at Notre Dame and at Michigan. Other than that, winning across the board. But Jacob, I am with you. If there's going to be a game they're going to lose, it's going to be the Turtles. It's going to be Maryland. Minnesota, I could see that too. But I would have Maryland as my number 1. Like, this is a game you guys should win. You're going to lose. Like, I'm pretty high on Maryland because, believe it or not, boys, with how my East plays out, Maryland's coming 3rd in the East, above Penn State. Above Penn State. Penn State and Maryland both I have going 9-3, but the difference is I do have Maryland beating Penn State in a shocker week 12 at Maryland. It will be a shocker. It's not a game they should win, but they're going to win it. And then I have them losing to both the Michigans at Michigan State and Michigan visiting them. Penn State, their 3 losses, Ohio State, Michigan, and Maryland. I like the Turtles as a sleeper team. I acknowledge that they could very easily drop down a little bit, down to like an 8-4 or something like that, and Penn State going easy 10-2. I fully acknowledge that. I just want to put a little stake in Maryland. I like this team. I like the talent they're bringing back, the starters they're bringing back. I think this team could be a sleeper, kind of like what I was saying earlier with Chad with Texas Tech. That I think that they could just be a solid team. And when it comes to Wisconsin, Iowa, same thing, man. Those are the teams. I got them both going 10-2. The difference is that Wisconsin coming in first because they beat Iowa. For Iowa, I have their 2 losses, Penn State and Wisconsin. For Wisconsin, their 2 losses, Ohio State, and a shocker with Jacob's new second favorite team, the Cougs, in week 2. Wisconsin will probably win that game, and they'll probably finish 11-1. I fully acknowledge that, but I just have this gut feeling that the Cougs are going to pull it off week 2, so that's how I've got it planned out. And then with Michigan and Wisconsin being the championship, with Michigan coming out on top, Big Ten champs. Let's get it. So
Both
that's mine.
Seem to be a little high on Michigan State.
Do what?
You both seem to be a little high on Michigan State.
I think it's their schedule. To me, their schedule favors them a lot.
I agree. I mean, like I just went through their schedule. I have them going 7-5. it's just their schedule favors them. That's all it is. And honestly, that 7-5 could be a 6-6. Because I'll be real with you, I'm more high on Maryland than anyone here. Maryland could get that dub week 4, which would put them down to a 6-6. But as of now, I like if I was to look at Michigan State's schedule like I am, Washington, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, those are all going to be L's for Michigan State. I would even argue that they could even potentially lose to Minnesota since it's at Minnesota. So, I mean,
yeah, I got Michigan State going 3-9 this year.
Yeah, and I could see that. I could see them float anywhere in that range personally. But yeah, Michigan, Big Ten champs, and honestly going to lock into a playoff spot. So, Shane, what about you? How you feeling about the Big Ten? Who's winning it?
I've listened, because I am winging it this week. I didn't really do much research this weekend, schedules and who's going playing who, but. I have a good idea of what these teams were last year. Don't necessarily know too much about who they're all bringing back and things like that. But I will say this. I've done a little bit of research while y'all were talking, discussing y'all's stuff. I will agree in the West. I think Wisconsin is most likely going to be the favorite. But I say it's a 3-team race with Minnesota.
Oh.
And
okay.
The Boilermakers.
Purdue.
I watch out for Purdue. Watch out for Purdue. I think Purdue can be one of those sneaky fucking teams. Last year, Jacob, I think you brought it up. They were not able to score any fucking points. But they've gotten 2 transfer receivers from the same place that they got their transfer quarterback from. Which I'm pretty sure is what, Leary, right? Was it Leary or was it somebody else?
Not Leary. Leary went to Kentucky.
Okay, who was it that Purdue got?
I don't remember personally. Because I know they lost their quarterback in the draft.
I know it's somebody that we were high on last year, but he got hurt, I think.
Could not tell you. I don't remember.
But anyways, they got 2 receivers and a quarterback from the same spot, and I think they got an additional receiver from somebody else. They got a running back as well. Watch out for Purdue. I think they'll probably finish 3rd in the West, but they're primed to, if they can get things clicking, they could make some waves. But I do think it's Wisconsin coming out of the West. Now this is where I'm going to differ from y'all. Some might say I've gone in the backyard. It's not quite spring, but some might say that I'm sipping on some honeysuckle. Because I have Penn State winning the East.
Ooh.
Okay. Write it down on the board, Jacob.
Yeah,
Write it down on the board.
Going down on the board right there.
Yep. All right. You got James Franklin finally doing some shit.
I have Michigan finishing 3rd in the East with 3 losses.
Ooh.
Interesting.
All right, you got to add that to the board too, Jacob. Michigan 3-loss season.
And believe me, that hurts. That hurts. I know y'all have heard from me multiple times. I have ties to both Michigan and Michigan State, which is internally hurts me. Yeah, very.
Unfortunate.
Both, I have 2 half brothers that both currently live in Michigan. One went to Michigan, one went to Michigan State. So I have some small ties there. Of course, I have Ohio State finishing 2nd in the East. I have both Penn State and Ohio State having 2 losses. Kind of similar to what Jacob has. Kind of a mix-up with Ohio State's 2 losses coming from Michigan and Penn State. That's Ohio State's 2 losses. Penn State's 2 losses is going to come from Michigan and Maryland.
Shout out to the Turtles.
I am also high on Maryland.
Turtles.
I love Tulia Tungavaloa. I think he probably won't be a 1st-round pick, but
no.
I mean he'll definitely get drafted. 3rd, 4th, 5th round somewhere in there.
I think he's better than his brother.
There you go.
I
Interesting.
think so too. But the thing is, he doesn't have those Alabama eyes on him.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have Alabama eyes on him. And side note, guess who coached him last year? Arkansas's offense coordinator, Dan Enos. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, and Penn State's schedule, guys. You got West Virginia, Delaware, Illinois, who I think Brett's gonna be looking for a new job after this year, boys. I'm not gonna lie to you.
He lost a lot of talent. He lost a lot of talent.
I think it's gonna be that bad. I think you're looking at a 5-7, 4-8 year. Illinois could be looking for a new head coach next year. You got Iowa at Penn State though, so that helps. Northwestern, UMass, they could be 6-0 heading into the Ohio State game. Downside is it's at Ohio State, but I still have them pulling it out. Then you have Indiana, Maryland at Maryland, which is a tricky game. And then you have Michigan, but it's at home at Penn State. And then you have Rutgers and Michigan State to finish out the year. So, if anything, I think Michigan's going to fall off with the players that they've lost. Yes, they still have their two great running backs, or at least one of them, I believe. So
They have both.
They have both. That's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I think that'll be fine. Like they're gonna be a good team, but man, I don't know. For some reason, I have this gut feeling that there will be a new head coach next year in the East Division here, but it's gonna be Michigan and no Ohio State.
You think Jim's going to finally dip back to the NFL?
I think Jim's going to be gone for a pro football, especially if they get 3 losses this year. He'll be in the NFL next year.
Is one of those losses Rutgers?
No.
Damn it. Damn it.
Is Rutgers your favorite team now for the Big Ten?
That's my Big Ten team. What can I say?
Go Scarlet Knights.
Hey, they won't be in the Big Ten for much longer.
Like the Big 50.
No, honestly, I was thinking about
Michigan's.
This. Go ahead.
So Michigan's 3 losses is Penn State. I have them beating Ohio State, but I have them losing to Maryland and getting upset by Purdue.
Okay.
In the big house.
The Boilermakers, baby. No, I was thinking about that the other day, like who would be my Big Ten team. And honestly, I don't have a hard preference for any of these teams. So just for the memes, my Big Ten team is very clear and set in my mind. And that is the one and only OH.
Io,
There you go.
baby.
I'm just here for the memes, baby. Let's get it. I've got no dog in this fight, man. I'm just here for the memes. All right. Let's go to the Big 12 then. This is going to be an interesting Big 12 year, in my opinion. With Texas and Oklahoma's final year here, you got a lot of newcomers coming in. I think it's going to be a pretty fascinating season to watch, personally. So who wants to go ahead and kick this one off?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll start here. All right, gentlemen. So, you guys are really high. I think Alex was really high on Texas. Who else is really high on Texas Tech right now?
That was Chad in the chat.
Chad in the chat.
Yep, the Georgia fan.
Yes.
I think you made a mistake not just leaving it like
No,
up.
this stupid thing.
Yeah, you made a mistake.
There we go.
These mics are heavy, man. Like you could clean knock someone out.
There we
Like,
go.
Yeah, you made a mistake just kind
me
of
sit
bringing
up.
it down.
Okay.
You either need to let it hang, right, or you just need to have it up. One of the two. Like when I say hang, I mean like you need to just let it fall and pick the whole thing up. It's one of the two. That mic is heavy as shit.
Okay. Here we go. I do have Texas winning the conference. I think they're going to win it very, very easily. Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. I have Texas beating Alabama at Alabama in week 2.
Me too. Let's go.
I have Texas going undefeated in the conference at 12-0. I'm sorry, undefeated in conference and undefeated overall at 12-0. I think Texas is going to be one of the top 4 this year. Something just tells me Texas is going to be pretty dadgum good this year, and I hate to say that, I really do. However, I am very high on Texas Tech. I have Texas Tech getting second in the conference at 9-3. with a 7-2 conference record. I've got Kansas also at 9-3, but I have them going 6-3 in conference, followed by Kansas State at 8-4. TCU, I have UCF, BYU, and Oklahoma State going 7-5. I have Oklahoma going 6-6, and then the rest is history. Colorado and Baylor 5-7. I've got Houston going 4-8, and I have Iowa State going a whopping 2-10 for this year in the Big 12.
Okay, all right. So, me and you are already very different on a few things. But we are on the same page.
It's a terrible football show. What do you expect?
That's true. But we are on the same page about Texas beating Alabama. I do have Texas getting that dub week 2. You know, they lost last year by a point or two. That was such a damn good game last year too. And I think it would have ended differently if Ewers didn't get injured. Funny how that's just the history of, Texas's story. They might have another national championship right now. I said May. I'm not hammering that. I say May. If Colt McCoy never got hurt. So that's just the curse of Texas. But no, Texas I do have going 11-1. Their one loss is I do have them losing the whatever the name of the rivalry is for OU and Texas, Red River.
Really?
Red River rivalry, I think. I do have them losing that game since it's going to be, at Oklahoma. I do think Texas.
I think it's a neutral site game.
That one's neutral site?
Yes.
Okay. I do think Texas could win that game, but I do have Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's going to have a step up this year. I don't think they're going to be the winners here in the Big 12 by any means. In fact, I have them going third place. They're not even going to the championship game for me. But I do think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. Second place, hear me out on this. I have Kansas State. Okay, I'm sticking with the champions from last year. I understand they lost Vaughn. Okay, that's fucking cool. They returned all 5 of their offensive line starters. They got their returning quarterback. I think Kansas State's going to be just fucking fine, especially in the run game. I get where they lost Vaughn. That's cool. That sucks. But again, returning the offensive line they got, I think the schedule very heavily favors them. There's only a couple games that I view as little hot spots they could lose, but depending on where the game is, also kind of plays in their favor. Week 4, honestly, I think UCF is a little bit of a hot spot game, but since it's at Kansas State, give me Kansas State. Shocker team here, the sleeper here at Texas Tech. I will go ahead and say it. I think they could lose that game, but I haven't won. The only loss I have for them is Texas. Putting them in second place and making that the championship and, for the championship. I think I actually predicted Kansas State to win. Let me look. I didn't actually put a prediction. We'll come back to that. I'll figure it out here in a minute. Oklahoma, I do have third in the Big 12 with a 10-2. Their 2 losses, back-to-back losses, in losses that they shouldn't have. This is where I think you're gonna see Oklahoma be a lot better team than they were last year, but you're still gonna see the same tendencies of where Oklahoma is losing games they should not fucking lose. And in this case, it's going to be Kansas week 9, and yes, their rival, who is going to stink this year, Oklahoma State, is going to magically pull it off in a game they should not freaking win. Because Oklahoma State is not going to be the team they have been in the past couple of years. They've lost a lot of talent. They got to rebuild, and Mike Gundy could be on his way out the door at some point, which he's been there forever. Coming in 4th, I'm a lot higher on these guys than everyone else on the internet, but I have the newcomers. I have UCF coming in 4th with a 10-2. Their only losses to Kansas State and Oklahoma. There are a couple of other hot spots. I think they could lose week 2 at Boise State. If they get past Boise State with a win, I think that's a pretty good sign for how this season's going to go. But I think they could still lose these other games. I think they could potentially lose Kansas because I still think Kansas can be a good team. Last year, Kansas obviously fell off a little bit with Jalen Daniels getting hurt. But UCF, they could lose to Boise State. They could lose to Kansas. They could lose to Texas Tech. But other than that, the rest of the schedule really plays in their favor to go at a ceiling of a 10-2, and that's what I'm locking in. Texas Tech, I got going 8-4. Their only losses: Oregon, Kansas State, UCF, and Texas. And honestly, a couple of those games could be swayed, in my opinion. And then the last team that I predicted for the Big 12, because the rest, it's they're not going to be overly competitive. I did predict the TCU, since they did make the national championship. I wanted to give them a special shout out. I have them going 7-5, quite the drop from last year, which is expected with how much talent they lost and having zero momentum coming into this year. They're not even ranked, I don't think.
Who do you have them losing to, though? That's my challenge, because to me, TCU's schedule is very, very easy in my opinion.
You listened to last week, so you already know one of them is SMU. I have SMU.
Okay, that's fair.
I have SMU pulling that. The way I talked about SMU last week, they play Oklahoma and TCU. I think SMU is going to win one of two, and it could honestly be either one. I don't think they're going to go 0-2 in those. I don't think they're going to go 2-0. They're going to go 1-1.
Okay.
And in my case, I have them beating TCU. Then I have them losing Kansas State, Texas Tech, Texas, and Oklahoma. Texas Tech going to get that dub.
Yeah, I have them beating both Oklahoma and SMU, but I could see SMU beating them in that whatever week it is they're playing.
Now, as for my Big 12 championship, like I said, it's Texas and Kansas State. And I feel like how I'm going to feel towards the Big 12 championship is going to kind of be determined after just literally a couple weeks because, we have the Texas-Alabama game and stuff like that. My first impression is I want to lock in Kansas State. They have a lot of returning starters on the offensive side, especially I think the offensive line is one of the biggest factors. That's a big deal. Kansas State needs to really replenish the secondary, which is kind of concerning, honestly. But honestly, it's honestly a coin flip between Kansas State and Texas if they're going to the championship game together. You just give me Texas, I guess. Fuck Brady, but give me Texas.
Okay. I agree that Texas is going to be great this year. I have them going 11-1 with their one loss coming to Alabama. That's only because I think that game can go either way.
True.
But I'm giving the slight advantage to Alabama just because it's a home game. I have Kansas State at 11-1 as well, with their only loss coming to Texas in Week 10. I have Oklahoma coming in at 11-1 as well, but again, lost to Texas. I have Baylor at 8-4. I have Texas Tech at 8-4 and Cincinnati at 8-4. I have UCF and BYU at 7-5. I have TCU at 6-6. I think they'll lose week 1 against Colorado. They'll also lose against Kansas State, Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State at 6-6. And then it just falls off with Houston at 4-8, Kansas at 3-9, Iowa State 2-10, and West Virginia at 1-11.
You think Kansas is only going to win 3 games this year?
I absolutely think so. I think there are only 3 wins that I have them. Missouri State week 1. I have them beating Nevada, and I have them beating Iowa State.
I'm definitely higher on Kansas than you.
I'm way. I was about to say, I'm a little higher on Kansas too.
I honestly don't know why.
Well, they returned a lot of their starters from last year, and
I think as long as Jalen stays healthy this time, I think they could go on a run.
I don't think their schedule favors them enough, though. Go on a run.
Let's see here. Missouri State, W. Illinois win. Nevada win. BYU, I could see BYU being a trap game.
BYU's going to stink this year.
Central Florida, they're brand new to the conference. I mean, but it's a home game for them. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma, they could go 1-1 in those two. You could flip either one of them. I mean, I could see them losing to Texas Tech and Kansas State toward the end of the year. But yeah, I just to me, I mean, I could see 7, 8, 9 wins out of this team. I don't see them going 3. I don't think they're going to be that terrible.
I do think that UCF and Cincinnati are going to turn a lot of heads this year. I think their transition isn't going to be as smooth as it can possibly be, but I do think they're going to get a lot of wins that most people think that they shouldn't be winning.
UCF, I'll agree with. Cincinnati, I don't know. With Fickle leaving, I don't know. Usually when a head coach like Fickle leaves to go to a bigger program, usually you lose a lot of players that he recruited. And I don't see Cincinnati transitioning like that. If Fickle's still coaching them, I would say yes to that. But no, I mean UCF, unfortunately, they still got Gus Malzahn. So, and he is okay. He's okay. So we'll just go from there. I can't stand Gus Malzahn.
All right, Shane, what do you got going on for the Big 12? Who's coming out on top? Are you just going to ride with us and give me Texas?
So I think it's a 5-team race. Now, I'm going to tier it here, right? So I think there's 3 tiers of teams in the top 5. So I'll do B, A, and S. I think your B team, your B tier teams here. So essentially 5 and 4 is going to be Baylor and Oklahoma. You can position them how you want them, but I have Baylor 5, Oklahoma 4. Your A tier team, your sole A tier team here, I'm gonna have. Where is it? Actually, no. I'll go back on that. I'm gonna have Baylor as the lone B tier, and then I'm gonna have. Well, I guess it's really 4 teams, because I don't really see this team being as good as. I did have TCU up there in that area, but I'm actually gonna retract that because they have lost a lot, and their schedule does not favor them from what I'm seeing. If I'm looking at the right one, so I'm gonna say 4 teams. Still tiered 3 tiers, B, A, and S. So you're gonna have Baylor in that low tier at B. And then you're gonna have your three as Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Texas. That's your 4 teams that I have. And I have a kind of it's going to be a nice rematch from the olden days, from the Michael Crabtree days, Texas and Texas Tech in the championship game. And I have Texas pulling it out.
Okay. Yeah.
I forgot to mention I have K-State winning it all. The Big 12.
Oh, okay, I was about to say, what do you mean by winning it all?
No, they are not winning a national championship.
I was about to say, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I was about to say, I definitely want what you're smoking.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we can all agree Texas is the team that's poised. I think Texas is gonna leave the Big 12 on a very high note and enter the SEC to fall into irrelevance. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But either way, yeah.
But actually, I do want to say this, Alex, if I can. I do agree with, I believe it was Jacob. I think Cincinnati and UCF will definitely turn some heads this year. I think more so UCF than Cincinnati. But I do think that those teams will not be the bottom tier of, the 14-team Big 12.
Yeah, the teams that will be those going to be Houston and BYU and West Virginia.
Don't forget about
Oklahoma,
Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Iowa State, Oklahoma State. I think those will probably be your bottom 5.
Yeah. No, Houston being added, I mean, honestly, that's for other athletics. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that in terms of basketball, Big 12 is by far the best basketball conference in the entire NCAA with all the additions they've got. Because then once you're adding in Arizona as well, then you got Houston that just came in. Shoot. I mean, it's unreal. All right, let's hop over to you boys' conference.
Are we going to skip the Pac-12?
Oh, we'll do that last.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that last.
Okay, you mean the Pac-4?
Yeah, the Pac-4.
Pac-2.
Shout out to the Beefs.
The Pac-2.
They're dead.
Cal and
they're dead.
Stanford, I think, the only ones that are left.
No, those are the ones that could potentially be out. It's Washington State and Oregon State that's on the fence of like what's going to happen to us.
I thought they joined a conference.
Nope, not
Did
yet.
they not? Okay, okay.
Cal and Stanford are trying to join the ACC.
It's gonna be fucking stupid. Oh my god! I mean, we've got fucking LA going over to New Jersey with the Big Ten, so it is what it is.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, LA to New Jersey, man, can't wait. All right, let's jump into the SEC. Ricky, why don't you lead us off here?
Why do I have to lead this off?
Do you want me to lead it off?
Nope, I got you.
Okay.
No, you asked me to lead it off. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Okay, so I don't think it's a secret. Georgia's gonna win the East. All right, let's just get that part out of the way. Georgia's gonna win the East,
Georgia's schedule is such a fucking
oh my
schedule.
gosh! Don't even want to get started with it. Anyway,
It's so
their
pathetic.
schedule is pretty.
I mean,
bad.
let me stress. I'm not taking anything away from Georgia being a phenomenal team. We saw that in the championship where they had like 7th string players coming in and dominating. I'm just pointing out the facts though. Their schedule is pathetic. Phenomenal team, best team in the country. But man, their schedule is pathetic.
I have 2 shockers for you boys. 2 of them.
Yeah, here we go.
Write it down on the board, Jacob.
Yeah,
Jacob, you're gonna want to write this down.
You're gonna want to. He told me this before you joined the call. You're gonna want to write this down.
You're going to need. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
second place team in the East will be the Missouri Tigers, going 10-2 in play. They will be 6-2 in conference play with 5-1 in their division. Third place in the East will be South Carolina. They will also go 10-2, 6-2 and 4-2 in the division. Number 4. This is where it's really going to surprise you. It won't surprise Alex, but it's going to surprise everybody else. Give me the Vanderbilt Commodores going 8-4. Number 4 in the conference, 8-4. My Vanderbilt Commodores will defeat the number 5 team in the division, who's going to finish in 5th place, the Tennessee Commodores, who will finish 7-5, followed by Florida Kentucky going 4-8, Florida going 3-9. That is my SEC East predictions.
I do have a question. Who do
Yes.
you have Missouri losing to in that 10-2?
So Missouri, I have them. Excuse me. Clicked the wrong button. Here we go. I have Missouri losing to LSU at home, and I have them losing to Georgia on the road.
Okay, I mean those are fair.
Yes.
I see a lot of potential losses here.
So here's the thing. Kansas State could be a potential loss. I will give you that much. Even though they're going on the road to Vanderbilt, I still think they're going to have a little bit more talent than Vanderbilt will this year. Kentucky is one of those I'm not so sure about. I'm not thrilled with Kentucky, but at the same time, I could see Kentucky having one of those sneaky seasons that nobody's going to realize. Of course, South Carolina. The only reason I have them beat South Carolina is because that's a home game for Missouri. And then I could see them lose to Tennessee, but I think Tennessee's going to slip a little bit. And unfortunately, I've got Missouri beating Arkansas at the end of the year at Arkansas. So, yeah, we're just going to go there. Yeah, let's just preview the Arkansas year while we're on the top of this crap. Anyways, so that is my East. So that's my East. Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Florida, and Kentucky. On the West side, LSU is going to go undefeated at 12-0. I have Alabama right now. I have them losing two games overall, and I have them only losing to LSU in the conference. But I will reiterate this, gentlemen. This could be a very, very weird year for Alabama, because if you look at their returning production from last season to this season, they're going to be a very, very young football team. They've returned 40% of their players from last year. And we're talking overall production, players who actually played, who have experience. You're talking about 60% of that team that does not have much experience. It could be a very, very weird season for Alabama for this coming year. I have Ole Miss coming third, going 7-5. I have Texas A&M going 6-6. I have Arkansas going 7-5, but I have them going 3-5 in conference, 2-4 in the division. I've got Mississippi State going 7-5. 3-5 and 2-4, and then even though I think Hugh Freeze is going to do excellent at Auburn, I just don't think this year is going to be it. I think next year you're going to really see Auburn progress, but I've got Auburn going 4-8, and obviously I don't have them winning a conference game this year.
Okay. Me and you are almost on the same page for Arkansas. I'm actually a little bit more generous. I have them going 8-4.
So here's my thing with Arkansas. I don't have high expectations for Arkansas anymore. I just don't.
Probably the best thing to do.
I just don't. Offensively, I think we're going to be fine. The defensive line, from my understanding, is supposed to be pretty good, but it's our secondary that I worry about more than anything. And anytime any team passes, I worry about our secondary, because we usually give up about 50 yards on one pass. So anyway, yes, I have Arkansas. Arkansas's losses, I have them losing at LSU. I have them losing to Texas A&M and Ole Miss, as well as Alabama. I have Arkansas starting the season 3-0 and then losing their next 4 football games. I do have them beating Mississippi State, but that's only because Arkansas is at home. It's not. I know Mississippi State beat the crap out of us. Mississippi State lost a lot of talent last year. They still got their quarterback this year, who is really good, but usually Arkansas wins this game at home. I do have them beating Florida, Auburn, Florida International, then I have them losing against Missouri at the end of the year.
Yeah, see, I've got them losing that four stretch as well. LSU down to Bama. Yeah, for me personally. Okay, so and for the West, you just have LSU winning it.
I have LSU winning the West, and then I actually have LSU upsetting Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Okay. Wow, upsetting Georgia. Mark that one down, Ricky. Yeah, go ahead and add that one down for us. Okay, so let's see. I'll do mine real quick as well. So for the West, I do have LSU coming out on top with an 11-1 record. Their only loss to Florida State week 1 and going on a run. Alabama, well, that was a tough one for me. I have them going 10-2, but I think 10-2 is their ceiling. I think their floor is more on the realm where it's like I wouldn't be shocked. Like I could see them losing to Texas A&M. I could see them losing to Kentucky. I could see them losing even as in a shocker this year to Tennessee. I definitely see some other potential like hotspot losses in there, but for now I have them going 10-2 is what I'm locking in with Texas and LSU being their 2 losses. Texas A&M, I'm a little bit higher on them than you guys. I've got, or at least Ricky, I've got Texas A&M going 9-3. Their only losses to Alabama, South Carolina, and LSU. There are some other hot spots in there. Obviously, Tennessee, Ole Miss. Those are a couple of them that I see that could be in there. And like I said, I already shout out Arkansas's record just for you boys. I made sure to do that one for you guys. East, straightforward, Georgia, 12-0. Their schedule favors them immensely, and they're just unbelievably talented. Second place, I do have South Carolina. I'm high on the Gamecocks, baby. Let's get it. I told Jacob last week that if I had to pick an SEC team to be my team, it'd be South Carolina because I'm a child and I like their name, the Gamecocks. So let's go Cox, baby. Let's cock up. Their only losses I have is week 3 at Georgia and week 5 at Tennessee. But I want to stress, I have them going 10-2, but there are plenty of games in here that they could lose. This 10-2 could change very, very rapidly. I mean, they could lose to North Carolina. They could lose to Texas A&M. They could lose to Kentucky. They could lose to Clemson. And boom, right there, I'm looking at a 6-6. You know what I mean? If you count the losses I already had. I mean, this could change very, very quickly. But for now, that's what I like. I think this team's going to be a lot better this year. I think even a middle-of-the-road one where they go like a 9-3 or 8-4, I think is going to be really good for them as well. Kentucky. Now, that was one that I looked at quite a bit because one thing that Jacob said to me, I think it was last week, I don't know if it was on the show or after or before the show or whatever, that I thought was pretty interesting, was that Jacob mentioned that he thought Kentucky got better because they lost Will Levis and they're gaining Devin Leary. And I started kind of looking into it and looking at that. And, you know, I don't think Jacob's very far off when it comes to that statement that Kentucky could be better since they lost Will Levis. I don't know if that's actually inaccurate. I think that's actually a pretty good take. You know, I have them going 9-3, but that 9-3 could change. That 9-3 could change for the worse or for the better. Their 3 losses: Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. But you know, I could see them beating Alabama. I could see them beating South Carolina. And if that happens, I mean, I don't see them having any chance beating Georgia. I mean, then you're sitting at 11-1, second in the East. So I think Kentucky's going to be a lot better than I think we're giving them credit for. And I think Devin Leary is going to be one of the biggest reasons for it. Plus, there's a lot of returning starters. You know, other than that, I think Tennessee is a team that's going to make some noise, but it's not going to be like what it was last year. I think I'll say this. I think Joe Milton is going to be a lot better than we're thinking that he's going to be because of like how good Hendon Hooker was. I think Joe Milton's going to be a lot better, but I don't think it's going to be like national championship levels or anything like that. But I think Tennessee will be just fine. Lucario, stop being an asshole. But you know, that's kind of how I feel the SEC is going to end up playing out. I mean, I feel like the SEC is very straightforward with LSU and Georgia winning the SEC.
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'll start in the West. I have Alabama winning the West at 10-2. I have LSU coming in at second at 11-1. Reason why is because Alabama beats LSU. I have Arkansas in third at 8-4. You want to know what their losses are? I have them losing week 7 against Alabama. I actually have them winning against Ole Miss. I have them losing to Texas A&M. I have them losing to LSU. And I have them losing to BYU.
What is it with you and them Mormons?
Hey, I'm sorry, but you know, I gave them an 8-4 record. I think that's pretty modest.
Well, yes, that's modest, but BYU, come on, man.
In the East, I actually have the only undefeated team that I predicted out of either Group of 5 or Power 5 winning this, and that is the 12-0 Tennessee Volunteers.
What?
Yes.
You wait, what? You got Tennessee going undefeated. Okay, this is interesting.
I do have Tennessee going undefeated, and I will mark this down for myself. Joe Milton will be a Heisman candidate.
I like
See,
it.
I'm telling you, I think Joe's going to be a lot better than we think that he's going to be. Hey, I just want to point this out, guys. I just want to point this out. The last time that Tennessee had a really good quarterback, they didn't win a national championship. And then the year after he left, they won a national championship. I'm just saying. I'm referring to Peyton Manning and to the next guy. I don't remember the next guy's name, but I'm just saying.
I like it.
I like it, honestly.
I like it.
I'm here for it.
I like it.
I have Georgia in second at 11-1 with their only loss coming to Tennessee, because that is the only big game that Georgia plays this year, and I think they're going to be caught sleeping. I have Kentucky at 10-2, with their only 2 losses coming to Georgia and Tennessee. Here's my, Alex kind of touched on it a little bit. Last year, their offense was completely sluggish. Only 20.4 points a game, which is insanely horrible for an SEC team as far as Kentucky goes. But I don't think any time was wasted fixing the offensive unit. I think Mark Stoops snagged a perfect offense coordinator. He's bringing him back to Kentucky and Liam Cohn. Grabbing Devin Leary is the biggest move he made this season, because he pairs Devin Leary with the SEC's top trio at wide receiver. Baron Brown, Dane Key, and Tavian Robinson. They are the best 1-2-3 punch combo in the SEC as far as wide receivers go. The offensive line can only gain optimism knowing that this offense is going to be a lot better. There's going to be more weapons. They won't nearly have to guard as much because Devin Leary is pretty quick with getting the ball out. I love this Kentucky team. I think they're gonna show a lot of people that Kentucky's finally going to be a football school, not only a basketball school.
I like it.
I'm not entirely sure why you guys are high on South Carolina and Mizzou. I have South Carolina going 6-6. I have Florida going 5-7. I have Mizzou going 2-10.
Yeah, see, the Mizzou one I didn't get either.
Interesting.
But I love that. I love them Gamecocks,
very
baby.
Interesting.
I think Shane Beamer's Cox are going to be ready to go this year.
I will put money on this, Jacob. Missouri's going to win more than 2 games. I'll put money on that now.
I have their only 2 wins being South Dakota week 1 and week 5 against Vanderbilt. I have Vanderbilt coming in last at 4-8, but Mizzou is above them because they have 1 division win. I don't think Vanderbilt is going to win a single divisional game.
Okay, that's fair.
Also, Steve popped by in the chat and he said, fuck, Florida State's going to win it all. And he said Arkansas is going 6-6. both possible.
I mean, they're both possible.
But I do have Tennessee winning the SEC this year over Alabama.
Wow, just
that's very interesting. That's very interesting.
But Georgia still makes it into college football playoffs.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be tough for them not to include Georgia, especially if that's their only loss. Georgia would probably come in at the 4.
But the problem is that's going to be Georgia's only, well, theoretically, it'll be their only ranked game. Maybe Kentucky, but
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, imagine if Georgia gets this entire year and doesn't play a single ranked opponent.
Very. That is the one takeaway that you could have.
Hey, Jacob, Steve said you're drunk. Get him out of here, Tennessee.
And hey, listen.
And that
all the numbers make sense for Tennessee to not regress this year.
And that typical SEC, Jacob, continues to win national championships. Just saying.
That's true. That's true. No, Jacob, you brought a lot of spice on that one. I like it because I looked at Tennessee's schedule a lot. I never had them going 12-0, but I definitely had them going at least 10-2 at one point. I think Tennessee is going to be a lot better than people think. I understand they lost their two receivers, they lost Hendon, but I think Joe's going to be fine. Really, I do. My boss, my everyday, my direct supervisor, he lives in Knoxville, and he gets tickets and stuff, and I get kind of the inside scoop from him for what's going on over there. And like he's not saying they're going to win a national championship, but like I think Joe and this team is going to be a lot better than some people are thinking. So I don't 12-2. That's bold. That's very bold. I love it. That's bold. But
I don't know if it's
I think
as bold as
10-2.
my Vanderbilt Commodores going 8-4.
That's also very bold. Yes. This is the same guy who said Arkansas was going 8-4 a few minutes ago. Yeah, look, no, 8-4 I think is a ceiling for Arkansas. I think a floor for Arkansas is going to be like a 6-6, 5-7. I mean, that's kind of my range there. I mean, it's possible. Like if Arkansas ends the year with 6-6, I don't think anyone here on this show is going to be surprised. I think the absolute ceiling actually for Arkansas is 9-3. I think that is the absolute ceiling. But I think more 8-4, 7-5, 6-6, somewhere in that sweet spot, I think is where you guys are going to end.
And it would be if Jacob didn't have us losing to BYU.
True.
Jacob would have the schedule on the dot.
I had to, give and take.
Yeah.
Beating Ole Miss is nothing. Come on, man.
They're going 4-8 after their starting quarterback gets hurt in week 2. Come on, man. Don't wish that. Come on, man. Don't wish that.
That's fine. We got Jacoby Criswell from
the nation.
We've got some of the. We got probably a top 15 backup. That's fine. We got Jacoby Criswell from North Carolina. I'll take
he's
it.
pretty good.
All right, Shane. How do you have the SEC playing out?
I'm siding with Jacob once more. It's crazy how much I've agreed with him today. I guess he's probably wanting me to wing it a little bit more often here. I have Tennessee winning the East. Georgia coming second.
Wow.
I agree. I think Georgia is going to be. Don't get me wrong. They're probably the most talented and the best team in the country, but they're going to be in coast mode by the time Tennessee comes to town, or they go to town. I forgot if it's Georgia at home or Tennessee. But I think Georgia's going to be in coast mode
at
that
Knoxville
point. So I think they're going to be surprised by Tennessee once that game happens, and I will not be surprised if Tennessee wins it. Do I see Tennessee going undefeated? I don't think so. I don't think there'll be an SEC team that could go undefeated, to be honest. But if it is, then it would be Tennessee. So Tennessee, Georgia, 1-2. I have Kentucky finishing third in the East, with Florida and South Carolina coming next with the same record, about the 7-5 range. And then I have Missouri and Vandy rounding it out towards the back end. Now you keep saying, Ricky, you want what we smoking. Brother, you are on the highest of highs right now with Missouri. So whatever the fuck you have in your Pepsi Coke, I want it. Okay. So moving on to the West.
Mizzou!
The thing is with Alabama, I think I will agree with Alex on this. Their floor right now could very well be 4 to 5 losses. And that's because of quarterback play. This, we've said for many years coming in, like, we don't know, how this quarterback's going to play for Alabama. And then, all of a sudden, he's a Heisman Trophy finalist. But I think this year of all years, it's really skeptical, and probably the most skeptical it's been. They do not look good at quarterback play right now. Now, don't give me, and why I'm not doubting Alabama right now as far as the West, because we know also every year they have a freshman player come on, and he's, an 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard back. He's leading the defense with, 7 interceptions or some crazy shit like that. It always happens every year. Some outstanding player always comes from Alabama and makes that team win games. It's going to happen. So until, is it Jaden Daniels, right? LSU quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, until he can show me something that's not running the ball every down like last year, he's going to have to show me more than that. Because regardless, we know Alabama's going to have a defense. So until then, I'm going to have Alabama winning the West, LSU second, Ole Miss third, Arkansas fourth, Auburn, then Mississippi State, and then Texas A&M.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna throw it out there. It's crazy that it's August 22nd and we're nearing the college football season very quickly, and Alabama has yet to announce their starting quarterback.
Yep.
Guys, I'm going to tell y'all this, and I listen. I know spring games don't mean nothing. I understand that. They looked that horrible. They looked like a mediocre football team. It was horrible on both sides of the football.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching SEC Nation and stuff during all the red white games. I didn't get to watch it myself, but definitely from what the highlights that they were popping up there and what they were saying, they did not look good. But the thing is, like, their floor, like I said, their floor is probably 4 or 5 losses. But then again, this could easily be a team that if for some reason their quarterback gets it together, just like LSU, if Jaden Daniels can get it together passing, throwing the ball, LSU will win it, no doubt in my mind. But right now, just pure talent and what I know Nick Saban can recruit and get in there, it's got to be Alabama right now. I'm not ready to give up on Alabama's dynasty or how good they've been over the last decade and a half. But their quarterback play does give me skepticism. It scares me. And on the flip side, I do want to go back to Tennessee real quick. I do agree Milton's going to be very good. But if anything does happen to him, you do have a 5-star, the number 2 quarterback, a player that I've been watching since he was a junior in high school. I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know. I don't even know how to pronounce it either, man.
I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, but his first name is Nico. And this man tore it up all over the country in 7-on-7s. Tennessee's absolutely
in such
insane.
Good hands. Yeah, Tennessee is in such good hands with this kid, man. He's going to be an absolute beast for them. Tennessee, if it's not this year, next year, I would say even his second year of starting, Tennessee could be a legitimate national championship contender. Up front, they could. They have a lot of talent coming in.
Right. I mean, as when he enrolled into Tennessee, he was sitting at 6'5", 205. Nationally number 2 player in the country, number 2 in his position. 5-star kid. And also watch out for a receiver they got. 6'2", 215, Cameron Seldon. He's a 4-star recruit, but he's number 3 receiver in the country. I think he's gonna fill some shoes for the Volunteers. But yeah, that's my SEC, and I have and of course in the championship game, Tennessee and Alabama. Have Tennessee winning it.
What do you have Arkansas their record this year?
I haven't set a definite on them. I've been kind of tossing and turning every single day. So safe side 7-5, 8-5 with a bowl win. But I'm with Alex. I could see a 9-3 year, right? If we manage to pull off one of those 4 games. That is what I'm calling Death Valley, or the Trail of Tears, could you say? Especially if we lose all 4 and we get blown out all 4 games, it will be a Trail of Tears coming back to Fayetteville against Mississippi State. But again, on the flip side, you could see, if injuries don't go our way, like they have in many sports here in Arkansas, us hitting a 4-8 and 5-7 year. But if we stay healthy, secondary improves. Doesn't even have to improve a lot. For that, we were 133rd out of 134 teams last year. If it even improves, to the low 80s, high 70s, I think we could get to that 7-5, 9-3 range, depending on 50-50 games. But as of right now, I do have them finishing 4th in the West.
Okay, all right. So, I really like you guys' Tennessee predictions because I think Tennessee is going to be a lot better than people think. So I'm here for that. All right, boys, let's go to the Pac-12, the final season for what seems to be for the Pac-12. No matter what they do, they're not going to retain any sort of nobility, no matter if they pull a bunch of teams up from Mountain West or not, or American or whatever they're talking about. The Pac is dead, which is unfortunate because I was telling Ricky before we started, it's really unfortunate this is the last season we're going to get to see of this Pac-12. Because honestly, I think the Pac is going to be immensely competitive with its top 6 teams. But that's also kind of the problem with the Pac is that it's pretty much like 7 teams are pretty solid. I know I said 6 because there's only 6 teams that are truly being competitive. I think Washington State's still a good football team, but I think the other 6 are above Washington State in my opinion. Then you have a pretty big drop off. It's funny to see all the teams like most of the teams leaving are the ones that are dragging down the conference. So good luck to them. In other conferences, but for me, I do have USC going 11-1. I think USC. Look, I'm not like amazingly high on Caleb Williams, where I think he is like the greatest thing in college football history. Honestly, I think like the last 3 or 4 Heismans have felt almost empty, where it's like it just feels like they're just giving a trophy to give a trophy. Like I don't feel like we've had the face of college football since Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, was the last time we truly had the face of college football. I don't think any of the guys we've seen the past couple of years is that guy, and Caleb Williams is in that same boat. But I do think USC is, I think their schedule favors them a lot. I think the weakness of the Pac is going to favor them a lot. But the thing is, though, USC, they could go 12-0, they could go 11-1, they can go 10-2. I mean, like they had their floor, in my opinion, could be all the way down to a 7-5. I don't see that happening. I view that as a very low possibility. But for me, their one loss I have is at Notre Dame. They could lose against Utah. They could lose against Washington. They could definitely lose, at Eugene against Oregon. And they could even lose against UCLA. That one I view kind of less likely. I think USC is going to lock that one in. So, I mean, like, let's say they lose Utah, Washington, Oregon, Notre Dame. That's an 8-4. I don't think that's how it's going to play. I think this is a very good football team. I think 11-1 feels pretty good. Utah as well. I got it going 11-1. Their only loss is to USC, while USC's was to Notre Dame. Washington, I have going 10-2, and that 10-2 could change. That 10-2 could be an 11-1. Their 2 losses are back-to-back. USC and Utah, and again, they could win that Utah game since it's up in Washington. USC, I think, is going to be that's going to be a big challenge. If they can beat USC, if they can beat Oregon week 7, USC week 10, they're going to beat Utah. They're going to beat Oregon State. They're going to beat Washington State. Washington, I think, can finish 12-0. I really believe that. After that, I do have the Beavs, baby. I do have the Beavs going 10-2. I like this team a lot, obviously. I think they gained some good talent. I think they lost some talent, yes, but they still have a lot of great talent, there at the program. Their only losses for me, I do have as Utah and Washington. It means I do have them beating Oregon in week 13. The 5th place, I have UCLA going 9-3. Their only losses to Utah, Oregon State, and USC. And then Oregon, I have going 6th in the Pac-12 with an 8-4. Losing to Washington, Utah, USC, and Oregon State. And I want to stress, like, pretty much all 6 of these teams, holy shit, they could be completely interchangeable, with these games. Like, I really think every single one of these losses that I have for all 6 of these teams where they're basically just feeding on each other, with the exception of USC losing to Notre Dame, like, I really think that the Pac-12 is going to be so competitive this year with the top 6 teams. But yeah, USC and Utah for the championship, and I have USC winning the Pac-12 championship.
I'm not as high on Washington as you are.
Okay.
I do have Washington going 7-5. I have them losing the opening week to Boise State. Because like I said, I'm just not as high. I do have USC winning the conference, but I also have USC getting 2 losses. But I do agree with you. I could see a 3rd loss, and I could see a 4th loss. The 2 losses that I have for USC at Notre Dame, and then I have them losing to UCLA at home. I think UCLA is going to be pretty good this year. I have Oregon going 11-1 with that 1 loss being USC. and I have USC beating Oregon with the head-to-head championship for the Pac-12 championship. So therefore, no Pac-12 in the top 4 playoff. I have the Beavs going third at 10-2, 7-2, with a tiebreaker over UCLA, who will also go 10-2. I have Utah going 9-3. I've got the Huskies going 7-5, and then from there, it's just their bottom. I've got Arizona going 6-6, Colorado going 5-7, Washington State going 4-8. Stanford and Cal will both go 2-10, and I've got Arizona State going 1-11.
Yeah, Arizona State's gonna be very bad.
They're horrible. It's just terrible. But I will give you this much: I have Hawaii beating Stanford in week 2.
I think that's possible. I'm gonna be real with you.
I've got Hawaii beating Stanford in week 2.
I also think that's possible.
Let's go Bows, baby.
Let's see here. Stanford's 2 wins that I have for Stanford. Because it's just a hilarious thing. I have them beating Sacramento State, even though Sacramento State could get that dub. Sacramento State could get that dub. And then I have them, who else do I have them beating? I have them beating Cal. So there is a possibility they're only going to win 1 game. I'm actually going to pick Sacramento State to beat Stanford. That's what I'm picking Sacramento State to beat. Because was it Sacramento State that was in the playoff last year for the FCS?
No, Sacramento State's really good.
So I have Stanford winning 1 game, and it's against Cal.
I am like you, Alex, very high on Washington this year. I have Washington and Utah at the top of the Pac-12 at 11-1. I have Washington only losing to Oregon State. Utah only losing to Washington. I have Oregon State finishing third at 10-2. I have their 2 losses coming in week 4.
Go Beavs.
Let's go.
They're going to lose a very close game in Washington State week 4. And then they're also going to lose the following week against Utah. I have USC at 9-3. I have them losing to Notre Dame, Utah, and Washington. I have Washington State at 8-4, Oregon at 8-4, Colorado at 6-6, UCLA at 7-5, Cal at 3-9, Arizona 3-9, Arizona State 2-10, and Ricky, I have Stanford 1-11 with their only win coming against Cal.
Yep. Cal is so
when I saw
bad.
that, I'm like, wait a minute. Sacramento State's pretty good.
Like, Cal literally brings nothing to the table, in my opinion, when it comes to going to another conference. Like, they just don't bring anything to the table. They're just bad all around.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that you mentioned last week, you mentioned something about SMU trying to get into a Power 5 conference, and that could be a possibility.
Yep.
Stanford, SMU, somewhat Vanderbilt, some of these big time academic schools, they're so hard to get into. The one conference that I think Stanford should really consider going to is the Ivy League. Go to the Ivy League. You're a conference. You're one of those, academic, smart, genius schools. Go to the Ivy League. Just go to the Ivy League. That's just all there's to it.
Dominate the FCS.
I don't even think they would dominate.
At least they would be the Alabama of the Ivy League.
I disagree with that too. I don't think they'd win the Ivy League. As horrible as they are.
I do have Utah pulling it off against Washington for the Pac-12 championship. And also, Caleb Williams is not the best quarterback in the Pac-12. I don't care who you are, he is not. The best quarterback in the Pac-12 is Cameron Ward.
Not who I expected you to say, but
interesting.
I mean, it makes sense why you're saying it, but not who I expected you to say.
No bias at all. Just statistical wise and mindset wise, he is way better than Caleb Williams is.
See, I would say Phoenix or Knicks would be the best. And I'm a big Rising fan. Like, I love Cameron Rising. I love him so much, but I wouldn't say he's the best. But I'm a big fan. He's my favorite personally out of Utah. All right, Shane, how do you get the pack? The final season of this pack. How do you have the pack going out? Are you going out with a whimpering fart in the wind or with a boom?
It's gonna be much like the ACC. 2 soon to be dead conferences. And kind of a 4-team race. USC, Washington, Oregon, Utah, with Oregon State being wild card. Oregon State definitely could upset some people and get higher up there. But I am going to throw some of my bias in here. I think it'll be Oregon and Washington in the championship game. USC will finish third in the Pac-12. Caleb Williams will not win any kind of awards because his, well, I'll just say that he will not win any awards, or at least I hope not. I agree that he is not the best quarterback in the Pac-12, and I will continue with what you said, Alex. Bo Nix is that guy. Don't know what happened to him when he went to Oregon, but he is a different quarterback playing under that team.
He's got that dog in him. He's got that duck in him.
But I will say, unfortunately, I have Washington winning the Pac-12. Even though it will not surprise me if my Ducks get it the last year of the Pac-12.
Before they move on
I will
to the Big
say,
Ten.
Alex, I think your Beavs could very well make a Pac-12 championship.
Let's go.
But the only thing that will hinder them, the only potential thing that will hinder them, because they're all overall they're a fantastic team. It's the passing attack, just like last year.
Yeah.
If they can improve in the passing attack, they'll make a Pac-12 championship.
Honestly, I'll be real with you guys. I think while I was very overly critical of him at Clemson, I think DJ will do fine in the Pac-12. I think just the competition's different. You know what I mean? I think the competition is, while the ACC is not some powerhouse like the Big Ten is, or the SEC especially. Like I think just the West Coast football is different football. I mean, it's that simple.
True.
Like the pack is just completely different. If he would have gone to the Mountain West, and if he actually would have went to Hawaii, like he would have won like the group of 5 Heisman up front. I'll say it right now. He should have gone to Hawaii, that son of a bitch. But he went to the Beavs, and that's fine too. But I think DJ will actually be really good in the pack. So I think he can elevate to the passing attack to the next level. I just don't think Clemson was the right fit for him ultimately. Because right now he has the opportunity. He has the opportunity to prove to the world that he is DJ Uiagalelei, however you pronounce his name, and not DJ, the guy that came after Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? Like he has that chance to actually give himself a different name other than, oh yeah, that's the guy that came after Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean?
And honestly, that's why I don't have Oregon State higher right now, though, because I don't trust DJ. I don't trust what I've seen from him in Clemson.
That's totally fair.
He's gonna have to show me something, in order for. But I do think that team that's in Oregon State is a very good football team. But at the end of the day, you don't have anybody to get the ball to your playmakers. Doesn't matter.
Right. All right, guys, we made it through the Power Five. Do we want to kind of give a quick prediction on what we think our Final Four playoff will be? Because is this the last year for when does playoff expand?
Yeah, this is the last. This is the last one for 4.
Okay. All right, boys, who's our 4?
In no particular order: LSU, Michigan, Georgia, and Florida State. That's my 4.
My 4 in no particular order: Tennessee, Florida State, Ohio State, and Georgia, with the first 2 out being
Did you
Kansas
say Ohio
State and
State?
Troy. Yeah,
Okay.
but the first 2 out will be Kansas State and Troy.
Okay. Let's see. Mine will be, and I'll put these in order: Georgia, Michigan, Florida State. Sorry, fuck Florida State, and LSU at 4. Texas will get the shaft for LSU. Shane, what about you? What's your 4?
Mine will be in order: Tennessee, Penn State, Georgia, Texas.
I like yours. Yours is spicy. Yours is spicy. I like that.
Not as crazy as Missouri going 10-2.
Hey, write it down. 10-2.
Hey, book it,
It's
baby.
Write it down.
Book it. Book it. Steve also threw out in chat earlier. I forgot to get to it. It was a joke anyway. He's not serious. He put Mizzou in Florida State for the national championship. All right, boys. We got through all of our predictions. We got through NFC. We got through AFC. We got through playoffs. We got through group. We got through power. We got the Final Four for the college football playoffs. We did it. You know what that means? Next week we actually get to talk some football.
Fantasy.
Yeah, we do a fantasy draft.
That's 2 weeks from
Yeah,
today.
it's 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that is 2 weeks from now on the 5th. We're gonna be doing some fantasy draft. Hopefully, we'll be doing that.
Have we
live.
decided? Have we decided if it's gonna be a live show or not?
Yeah, it should be a live show. The only one that's in question is Steve, because he recently got a promotion and he's been ungodly, like his schedule's been ungodly swamped. So he doesn't know if he's going to be able to draft that time. He's going to try, but I did offer him, I've done this before in other leagues, that I will draft for him. I'm very fair when I've done that before. So I may do that, or we may just reschedule it. I don't know. If one of you guys would ever be unavailable, I would draft for you guys too. I've done it before.
What time is the draft again?
I have it starting at 6 our time, so 30 minutes after we start the show.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we got to move it, we'll move it. We're gonna figure it out. But as of now, it's still slated for that Tuesday, the 5th, to do our draft live here on the show. Get a live reaction to it. Right, and that, of course, is right before the kickoff with the Lions and the Chiefs. But this weekend we do have Week 0. Only one matchup really I'm looking forward to seeing, that being Ohio and San Diego State. But of course, Hawaii and Vandy is one that I'm going to tune into and hope for the best.
Now I want to have a small debate, real quick. It can just be a yes or no, because I was on my way to take my girls to school this morning, and the morning mayhem was debating it. Do y'all like or dislike Week 0?
So
I love it.
So now I don't know why they did it for college football. I know why they did it for high school. They did it for high school football, so that way every high school could get at least one bye week. I do know that. But I have no preference either way. It's college football, baby.
Yeah, that's kind of where I would stand. Is I really don't have a preference, just because it's good to see, the overall good football we like to watch come back. But at the same time, like usually the games they have lined up does stink. They're usually a bunch of stinkers, but it's cool to see it come back. I don't know. I might prefer just to have everything just Week 1. That'd be my personal preference. But I don't think it's a bad thing to have Week 0 personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't necessarily dislike it, especially in the college level. High school, I'm okay with it because, especially here in the state of Arkansas, we see games that we don't typically see, especially like Brighton Benton. Like if we didn't have Week 0, we necessarily wouldn't have that game during the season. And then for college football, I think Week 0 is kind of like when you go to a movie theater. And, you have the ads playing before the movie, but it still gives you time to get popcorn and all that kinds of stuff, even though you get there late. That's how I see Week 0 with college football. It's got like a teaser, like, hey, just right around the corner, bud.
Yeah, just kind of tickle your fanny a little bit, like, hey, you're almost there, man. You made it. You made it. All right, boys, let's look to wrap up the show now. I'm going to come over here, hit the music. We got to get Ricky on his way. And I'm still going to aim to mow the yard tonight. Well, it's hopefully a little bit cooler outside. It's been hot as hell. But, boys, good show. Got through all predictions. Next week, we actually get to talk football. We have football predictions next week. Run your pool. You can join now to compete against us. So super exciting for that. Boys, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh, the heck with it. OH!
Yeah! Let's go, baby. OH!
I don't hear a damn thing coming from you.
Hey, I said it. I said
Did
IO.
I think he did.
On
yeah.
on the second one.
All right, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Right?
We all have to have
I agree
our
with
own.
you way too much today.
Hang on.
I had to give you
we all have to do it on our own. Shane, OH.
Ohio.
Yeah! This is an Ohio State show now, baby. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with some college football predictions.
Wrong.
Can't wait.
Ohio Bearcats or whatever their name is. Wrap it up. Let's go.
Have
Y'all
a good one. Bye.